What's going on, Wealth Builders? Today, I've got an OG in this online space. This dude is famous for podcasting. He is also an OG when it comes to writing books. He's written a book called Superfans. He recently started a YouTube channel and has made over $1 million with just that channel alone, along with all these other business endeavors he's done along the years. Welcome to the Wealthy Way Podcast. I'm Ryan Pineda, your host and the founder of Wealthy University. I've invested in over $100 million of real estate and have built multiple 8-figure businesses. My mission is to help you build wealth and grow in your faith. So get ready for some raw conversations with some of the most successful people in the world. Let's hop into it. I've got Pat Flyn. What's up, man?
What's up? OG, I sound old now when people say that.
I mean, you told me you've been at it since 2008, so I mean, that's a long time. That's pretty much like the beginning of this online social media space.
Yeah, it was, and it was a rough beginning for me because I had gotten laid off from architecture, didn't know what I was going to do, and I went to the internet to figure things out and learned a lot of what not to do first.
I mean, like back then, there's no people teaching it.
No.
You know, like it was kind of like from the direct response industry, I would assume.
Right. Well, there were a group of people who were bloggers, some nerdy people were podcasting, and I caught on to one podcast that told a story about a guy who was making 6 figures a year helping people pass an exam, the project management exam.
Okay.
And I had gotten laid off from architecture. I was like, could I do that? I can help people pass the architecture exam maybe if I build a website. So that's what I did. And within 3 months, it was ranking really high for all these keywords around this exam. And I started to be seen as an expert, even though I barely passed that exam.
and you also were a laid off architect.
Yeah.
It's like the track record's not even the greatest.
Right. But when they look for information and they find the tips and the best results for it, and they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about for this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then in October of 2008, I sold a PDF guide. I didn't know what I was doing. I just put all my notes on a PDF, sold it for $20, PayPal. I wake up one day and I have money in my PayPal account. And I'm like, this is insane. This is crazy.
It was like imaginary money.
It felt like it. And I thought the FBI was going to come because it just didn't feel, I went to school for architecture for 5 years. And here I was just like kind of fiddling around and I made some money.
Yeah.
It didn't feel real. It didn't feel right. And then the next month I see $9,000 in my account that wasn't there
just
before.
The PDF. People just were finding your website, buying this $20 thing. You made 9 G's.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was cool because it helped people get promoted. It helped people get a raise. So it was like actually giving them something in return. Like there was an ROI for that, right? And not only that, like there was one woman, I wrote about her in my book, Superfans. Her name is Jackie. She passed the exam with my guide. And she couldn't believe it because she had tried 3 times before. And it's a really difficult exam. And she was like, Pat, I want to support you. I'm going to tell everybody in my office to buy your guide. I was like, you could just share it with them. And she was like, no, I want to give back to you. And the next day I saw like 40 sales from people in her firm.
Wow.
Because she just spread that around. Like one person became 40 sales because I just helped her out.
Wow.
And that taught me a lot about serving first and helping people get what they want. I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, if you can help people get what they want, you can get what you want.
Yeah. No, 100%. So, you start this website, it's way bigger than you thought it would be, right? How does that progress into, getting into the podcast space and everything? Because you started podcasting way before it was cool.
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah.
I actually bought some equipment to podcast in 2008 because it was a podcast that helped me. I knew it was a good way to share a message and get in front of people, but I was so scared. I actually created an episode and I scrapped it 5 or 6 times because I just didn't like the sound of my voice. I didn't believe people would listen to me. I had actually built a website called smartpassiveincome.com. And this was to show people what I was doing in the architecture stuff, right? I had a proven business and I wanted to share what was going on. Didn't ask for anything in return. And that blew up because nobody was sharing truly what was happening in that time without asking for a credit card before.
Well, isn't it funny that you didn't think anyone was going to listen, yet you were so scared to post it?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't logically make you're like, man, dude, nobody's listening to this, but man, if somebody does, I don't like how I sound. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was just figuring things out. I didn't know what I was doing, but in 2010, finally with the courage of, or with encouragement from my coach at the time, he was just like, post it. Like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
And it was a bad episode. I mean, you gotta be cringe before they binge is what I found out. So, 90 million downloads later now, over 1,000 episodes across 2 different podcasts.
Crazy.
And, I've helped people like Tim Ferriss with his show when he started out. And it's just, I'm one of the OGs in the podcasting space now.
Over
It's kind of cool.
1,000 episodes, 90 million downloads. That's crazy. And you still have like the same brand.
Same brand, yeah.
That's crazy too. To like have that. You're like, I'll just register this domain, and it's stuck.
Yeah. Actually, the original domain name was going to be Passive Aggressive Income Dude. Because it was PAID, and I thought that was clever, and I'm so glad I didn't do that. It would have been a big mistake. Because I'm not that.
Yeah, that's funny. So how did you link up with Tim Ferriss?
So it was through a podcast, actually. Episode 51 of my show, we got connected, and I don't even know who it was through, but his book really helped me out when I got laid off. And that's why I built my business in the way that it had become, the architecture one.
So the 4-hour work week was like basically the premise for why you started doing that.
Correct.
Okay.
It was a large part of why I structured it that way, because I could have printed the book and then have to deal with then returns and all this other stuff that would have taken my time. So using the 4-hour work week strategy, it was like, okay, what's the least amount of work I can do to get the most amount of return back?
Yeah.
And it really helped out. So Tim's great, and we don't talk very often or anything. Like, I'm not like buddies with him. We don't go to get drinks or whatever.
He doesn't seem like, and I don't know him, but like just like looking at him and hearing him, it doesn't seem like he's like a buddy guy. He kind of seems like a lone wolf to me.
I feel like he's kind of disappeared too on purpose.
Yeah.
Just to kind of step away. I don't know why, but he had so much fame for such a long time. And then his 4-hour body book and Tools of the Titans and stuff. I mean, all great books, but he just, I think, like many others, they just love their podcast. That's what they do. And then they go live their life and do stuff away from people.
Yeah. Side note on the 4-hour body. I was like 21 or 22 when that came out. So I got drafted to play pro baseball, and I'm like, I read this book because one of my roommates, his name's Blake, super fan of Tim Ferriss. And I was like, okay. And so I remember doing his workouts and eating his food, like literally
legumes.
Yeah. It was literally, he was just like, just eat nothing white and you're square. And I was like, that makes sense, And then he had this other part in it. If you wanted to gain weight, it was chili, tuna. It was chili, tuna, and what? It might have just been chili and tuna. I can't even remember. But like, you just literally eat bowls of chili and tuna, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Did it work?
Oh yeah, dude. You'll gain weight and like get big really quick. So
as long as you're working out, it's just.
And then his workouts were interesting because it was like 1 or 2 times a week and like one exercise. And it was like time under tension. So it's like 60 seconds of like
the least amount of work for the most amount of gain.
Yeah. And I'm like, that I didn't follow too well, but time under tension, I know it does work. But
did you do cheat days?
Yeah.
Because that's what Tim gave the whole world permission to do, was like one cheat day.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that now too.
There was like a video of him like eating 5 gallons of ice cream or something. I remember.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing what they did like with the intermittent fasting fad. It's like, oh yeah, you can just like, as long as you don't eat, you can eat like a king. One big meal.
Yeah.
Eat whatever.
Just 4 hours a day, though.
Yeah.
That's all you have to eat.
Yeah. And you'll be skinny. It's like, I don't know. Dieting and all that's been around for a long time with fad after fad.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, that's cool. So you got to know Tim, and he launched his podcast, and that's, man, he's an OG too. He's been doing it a long time. And
yeah.
What was it like after that? How did your career progress from there?
Yeah, so 2010 was the podcast. 2011, I started speaking on stage for the first time.
Okay.
2013, I wrote my first book. It was a book called Let Go, and it's kind of a double meaning because I was let go from my job, but I had to learn to let go of who I thought I was supposed to be, all the conditioning of growing up in this society and living this perfect 4.2 GPA, UC Berkeley College, perfect job and 401k, and then it just got ripped out under me. I was so mad at I did everything that everybody told me to do, and it still didn't work.
Right.
That was the big moment when I was like, I gotta take control. And if I fail, I want it to be my own fault, not because of anything else external as much as possible. So first book came out 2013, and it was bestseller on Amazon, which is not as big of a deal as many people make it out to be. But my next book, Will It Fly, came out in 2015 because I had a lot of people ask me, okay, how do I get started? What do I do? So I wrote Will It Fly, how to test your next business idea so you don't waste your time and money. This is all about validating your idea first, taking these little micro experiments in the ideas that you have just to kind of see if people even would bite first before you dive in.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to create an online course or something, it's like, first let's see if people show up to your
Pre-sell
live
it.
stream.
Yeah,
Like
that too.
the most micro way that you can determine, yes, okay, let me move to the next step, right? So I wrote this book, completely self-published, published it in February of 2015, and it became a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
That's hard to do.
Which I didn't even know was possible as a self-published book.
Yeah.
Because people read it and they implemented it and then they told everybody about it, which was really cool. So I felt really good about that as well. 2017 came around. That's when I started creating online courses. I always pushed people away to other people's courses because I just didn't feel the need to create my own course. That information was out there already from other people. So I could become an affiliate for them. And this is where I made a lot of money, $100,000 a month, by saying, hey, go take this person's course or go get coaching from this person because they're great.
Yeah.
And, again, least amount of work for me. I can just push my traffic there.
Yep.
But so many people are like, Pat, you got to create a podcasting course. Like, can you just please do it? Like, I know who you're sending me to and they're great, but I want it from you. And it took me a while to get over myself and just go, okay, fine, I'll create it. And our podcasting course, one of now 12 courses across different aspects of online business, that course alone has made over $3 million. And it still continues to help people create podcasts.
And it's just a digital course. It's not even coaching or anything.
No.
Yep.
No, but it's changed.
Real estate investors, are you tired of getting low quality leads and talking with sellers who've been hit up by everyone else? Well, what if you could get inbound leads of motivated sellers on autopilot without any effort? Well, that's exactly what we do at Lead Kitchen. Over the years, I've spent millions of dollars on direct to seller marketing. I've done PPC, I've done TV commercials, I've done cold calling, text messaging, direct mail. I've done the pay per lead services. And look, all of them can work. A lot of them don't. At the end of the day, I have found a new method that is getting me better results than I've ever seen in my career. I'm getting lower cost per leads on inbound I'm getting lower cost per leads than ever before. And it's not just in Las Vegas, it's across the country. And so if you want to take advantage of this new innovative marketing strategy that takes no effort on your end, I want you to go to leadkitchen.com and book a call with my team today. Imagine having my team running your marketing with the same leads that I'm getting in my business. That's what you can have. So just go to leadkitchen.com today and book a call.
The business landscape has changed. How people learn online has changed. So we've combined our courses into a community now. And now we're focused on community. Community is our product.
Yeah.
And our courses are what we call community-powered courses. And so we run people through a more structured program across 8-10 weeks through that material. But it's learn on your own.
What is it? What did it charge back, or what did it cost back then versus what it costs today?
So back then we were charging $499 for one time. You get access to the one course and you're kind of on your own. And it worked.
That was normal.
That was normal. And thankfully for us, we also worked really hard to understand what the obstacles were for people. And we knew that. So we baked help into the online course for those moments. We had emails trigger out when we knew people would struggle to help them along the way. Again, least amount of work with let's automate this process. But the landscape has changed. And so now you get access to all of our courses, like thousands of dollars worth of courses for basically what is the equivalent of $66 per month.
Yeah. The reason I bring that up is because when I first started selling courses, it was 2018. I saw Russell Brunson speak at GrowthCon. I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. It was not. And I had Russell in here 2 weeks ago, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Telling him the story. But back then, I was selling a course for $1,000. We would discount it to $500. And now it's so funny because now I'm all in on subscription.
Exactly.
And
recurring revenue.
Yep. And so we have something called Wealthy University for $97 a month. And once again, community based, but you get all our courses now instantly, for $97 a month.
Yeah.
And then, we have live calls and other things too. And I'm just like, I think about how much value people get today compared to what they got and what was standard, 5-7 years ago.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, think about it. Back then, information is what was valuable because it wasn't available before. Now, information, there's too much of it, right? So you need to get to the transformation faster. The way to do that is not through more information. It's through being around the people who are going to push you, accountability, some coaching, some guidance along the way. Implementation, yeah. So on the front end, we're losing money because we aren't making $1,000 on the first purchase. But if we continue that value over time, a person has to stay in for 10 months. Yeah. You're actually making more.
You will make more. And if you have ascensions and other things, you definitely will make more.
For sure. So I love that you're doing that business model. It just kind of validates what we're doing on our end too. So,
well, I learned it from Russell, and Russell wrote a book called Lynchpin.
Yeah.
And, I had Russell on the podcast 2 weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, it's a nice business model being able to look at your Stripe every day and see that you got 300 grand coming in today. I'm like, oh, that's a little different.
We
Okay.
have ClickFunnels too, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, have you thought about software and things like that on your end?
Yeah. So we also have our own CRM, our own
Nice.
deal finding platform. And so those are add-ons too.
For your real estate?
Yep.
Yeah, that's smart.
And so, but with Russell and ClickFunnels, I mean, dude, they're making over $200 million a year. And
Yeah.
so, and it's recurring.
One thing I love about what they're doing over there is they have their comma club, their 2 comma club and
Yep.
3 comma club. I think for some, I think that's so smart. YouTube does this where when you get to 100,000 subs, you get a silver play button.
Yep.
When you get to 1 million, you get a gold, and I think platinum for 10 million or something like that. I think more companies need to reward their users who are actually the ones who are creating the content on the platform. Do you have anything for your people for like rewards and stuff?
Yep. So in 21 and 22, we had a 7-figure award. So similar to the 2 comma club. And it was great. And then I didn't do it last year because an FTC lawyer scared me. And he was like, hey, dude, you can't really do that because, it implies that, oh, everyone's going to make 7 figures if you just only honor these guys. Like, you got to show the other side of it. And I'm like, all right, the award's not that important then. I'm not going to
It's not worth the risk. Yeah.
And then, I just talked to Russell about it too, behind the scenes. And he's like, bro, like, they're always going to say one thing and that. He's like, I've been doing it a long time. I've never had issues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, then we're going to bring it back. So in 2020, after this year, we're going to bring it back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean,
But maybe we'll rename it something,
I think the 2 comma club is like such a clever name. It rolls off
Yeah.
the tongue. You
Yeah.
know?
So yeah, that's kind of that drama. But how did that progress from there? I mean, you start selling online courses, you're making money.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of keynote speaking at the time. The free talks that I used to do kind of converged.
got paid.
I started to get paid for them. I started to get paid really well, like 20, 30K
Yeah.
for 60 minutes of time. And I started to really get obsessed with being the best speaker at every event I went to. So I studied storytelling. I hired coaches. I worked through and rehearsed through my presentations. And I typically get very good grades when I go to these events. And I think I just am here in Vegas for an event too. And I got some really good remarks too, which is good because that makes me feel like I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. So like I feel of value when people respond well to the work that I do and see that it's of service to them too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have fun up there and I'm not a comedian or anything like that. I'm not extroverted, but when I'm on stage, there's just something that happens with the way that I can tell a story and kind of control the energy in the audience.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you should do stand up. I'm like, hell no, that sounds so scary. But I also know that would be a good challenge.
Yeah.
I
Side
don't know.
note, you should, because I at our conferences at WealthCon, so I started doing a worship service and I always have a pastor speak now. And the running joke is I'm like, one day I'm going to lead the worship service and sing. And I have no singing talent or ability. And I'm just like, it's just like a joke because my wife she's the worship director
Mhm.
and she won't even let me be on the team in the background, and just cut my mic off. Like, just let me be up there and sing. No, she won't let me be there. So I just always laugh about it. So Brian Davila, one of my partners, ends up getting me singing lessons for my birthday.
Oh, for real?
So now I have like all these singing lessons I got to use. And I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, then I'm just going to do
Oh,
it.
you haven't used them yet?
I just got them. My birthday was last week.
Oh, cool. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I took singing lessons,
Okay.
not because I want to sing or because everybody thinks I can sing because I'm half Filipino, but I can't. But it's mostly for podcasting training. My voice is my business in
Yeah.
podcasting. And there was one time I went to an event and I just lost my voice.
Dude, that keeps happening. My voice is still kind of recovering from last week. I got to figure out how to not lose my voice.
The singing lessons help a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. You begin to learn how to use your voice in a way that it doesn't strain it. It's really good.
Mm.
And then you can sing a tune and then you can do your pastor thing.
There we go, baby. You're half Filipino and what?
Quarter Irish, 1/8 Russian, 1/8 Polish.
Oh, so we're the same.
Just
Half
nothing.
Filipino, half white.
You too?
Yeah.
And you can't sing either?
No,
Bro, maybe if we combine,
we could sing.
we could
Just our Filipino side.
yeah.
Be like Bruno Mars.
Oh, dude, that guy.
That dude freaking 5'2", just running around, making it happen.
He was in like Tokyo, I think. He did some fun videos there and Man, still, I think the best Super Bowl halftime shows.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. It's funny because he had like a residency here, and he doesn't like you can't bring your phone in. He's just like they take your phones at the gate.
What do you think of that?
I don't know, dude. It's weird, but I'm like, whatever.
Because he wants you to pay attention to him, right?
That, or he doesn't want it filmed, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that too.
Yeah. But hey, when you call the shots, who cares?
Yeah, right.
Like get to be that powerful where you can demand people and people will still do it.
Right.
So
is your mom or dad Filipino?
my dad's from Manila. So
your dad's Filipino.
Yep. So he came. Yeah. It's usually the opposite.
Yeah. I was gonna say you're a rare breed.
Yeah. So he came from the Philippines when he was 17, and then he moved here, met my mom, and the rest is history.
Nice. My mom's Filipina.
Yeah.
My dad was in working with the Navy, and
Yeah, it's usually the white guys that get Asian fever. That's usually how it goes. So most halfies I meet are like probably 80%, or the mom is Filipino.
Yeah. That's cool. Did you grow up with a lot of Filipino culture and things like that in your household?
No, I was pretty whitewashed, dude.
Same.
Yeah, my dad's parents and stuff, they're here in Vegas too. So whenever I'd go to like Christmas dinners and stuff, like, yeah, that was where I get all my, Filipino heritage, but that was much more rare than the other side. But now it's funny because I'm like embracing the culture more. So like I eat ube ice cream like every night.
Dude, purple all day.
Yep. So I just eat everybody. That's like the gift everyone gives me is a bunch of ube, just different things.
Is it all from Trader Joe's?
Everything you could imagine. There's something like literally in my office right now. Because I get a gift like every week just from random things. I had ube pretzels just sitting there, and I'm like, huh, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Because my wife is all ube'd out too.
Okay.
Yeah, she's full Filipino.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge ube fan, but I'm more of an adobo and lumpia.
And I love all that.
Dishes and stuff.
I played for the team Philippines in 2012 for baseball. So I got to represent the country, but I'd never been to the Philippines until like 3 months ago. So I went to the Philippines for the first time and got to see it, and it was cool. But even like going to the airport and stuff is funny, man, because like you go to and you're like, yeah, the food is just it's a bowl of just adobo.
Yeah.
It's like a plastic container. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I eat it. I'm like, dude, this is so good. It's just like authentic, and dude, it's good.
Did you enjoy your time in the Philippines?
Yeah. It was great. I definitely want to go back for longer because I was only there for like 4 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To ball? Or was this like a family thing or?
No, it was actually a vacation with a mastermind I'm in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I did a mastermind once in the Philippines also. Had a good time there. Philippines is wild, dude. You can drive down this beautiful, especially in like places like Cebu, which are more touristy.
Yeah.
It's like gorgeous, beautiful. You turn a corner and it's like the most like poor place in the world with like naked people running around with chickens. It's like so sad to see. And it's like literally 1 block over.
Yeah.
It's like,
I just didn't realize how big it is. Like, I was looking at there's like 100 million people.
There's a lot
in the Philippines. I was like, whoa, I did not realize. And it's, it's obviously not big.
Right.
So like that's
geographically.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was in Japan in Thanksgiving in 2023. That's huge. Like Tokyo is like 38 million people there.
Yeah.
It's just wild, but it was so like the culture there is amazing. Everybody respects each other so well, and it's clean. Like I'm getting sick of how downtown San Diego smells like piss everywhere I go now. There's just a homeless problem there, and in LA too.
Yeah.
But then like
it's more of a California issue.
Yeah. We don't have to get into politics or anything right now. But
yeah, California is just. Yeah, I was looking at Elon Musk tweets the other day. He's like, "Yep, getting robbed by a homeless person in San Francisco is just a normal occurrence every day. Yeah. You can't even report it. It's not a crime. It's just like, what is going on in this place?
Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah. You going to move?
No.
It sucks, but I'll stay.
Yeah. I mean, San Diego at least has, relatively speaking, a decent place. Like it's just nice. And the weather is amazing. I surf.
Yeah.
And my family's there. My kids are there. So
yeah, no, I love San Diego. That's my favorite. If I was to move to somewhere in California, I'd go to San Diego.
Have you been in Vegas
Yeah,
the
I'm
whole
born and
time?
raised.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I traveled everywhere when I was playing baseball. So I I did live in California for 1 year, in pretty much the worst place you can imagine.
You're up in Oakland, right?
Well, I didn't never make it to Oakland. I was playing in the minor leagues. So I lived in Stockton.
Oh,
And Stockton is like in the top
even better.
3 most dangerous places in the US. Like it's worse than Chicago and these places. We got robbed twice in like a short period of time.
Same
So.
dude. No, I'm just kidding.
Same. Yeah, it's a normal occurrence in San Diego.
No.
But anyways, so let's talk about how the landscape has changed, right? Because obviously you've been doing it a long time, online marketing, podcasting, courses, speaking. You saw this shift recently with short form content.
Yep.
That's a new thing.
I'm not about the short form though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think I'm weird because they think I don't do short form enough. But I want to focus on the long form. And the way I describe it is like, I think short form content's sort of like Halloween candy. People come to your house, they get the candy, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, okay, well, it's really hard to build a relationship with your audience if they're just kind of taking something real quick from you. You got to be really good in a very short period of time, which is very hard to do.
Yeah.
Versus I want to be instead the chef who creates a 5-course meal that you sit down to and you have this experience and you tell your friends about, and then they come. Right. And I think I can get more leverage from that kind of experience or building that kind of experience in my videos. And even in my Pokemon channel, I mean, we're telling these stories that are 30 minutes long. And then by the end, we're getting comments like, I don't even like Pokemon, and this thing made me cry. It's amazing when you can make that connection. And I think today more than ever, when we're talking about the landscape changing, we need to figure out a way to bring emotion in some way into our content, whether it means laugh, cry, get angry, smile, like, feel something, like make people feel something, because information is just everywhere and AI is coming and dehumanizing everything. So the more human that you can be, right? It's not B2B or B2C, it's P2P, person to person. And I've always leaned into that. And that's why I wrote Superfans, knowing this is where we were going to go. And it still proves to be true that, we connect with other people because of the emotions that we feel together.
Yeah. No, I agree. I made the decision to just like solely focus on the podcast about a year ago, because I used to make normal 10-minute YouTube videos and things like that. And that's how I grew my channel initially, but I just didn't enjoy it. And I've enjoyed the podcast and interviewing cool people. And then just to me as a business guy, because I'm a business guy first and foremost, content to me is just simply marketing and something I do for fun.
Yeah.
But, from an efficiency standpoint, I was like, wow, think about all the benefits of a podcast. Like I get all this content, I can go really deep with people because they get to, see all this stuff. I can chop it up into short form and still get great clips.
Yeah.
The short form to me is just marketing to get them to watch the full episode, become aware of it. And then I look at all the other subsidiary benefits of the podcast where, not only is my audience getting a ton of value, but I'm building relationship with you,
right?
With the guest. We do other things after that because a relationship is built. And then, like I said, you just get all the content that you can just repurpose for everything else. So.
Yeah. So many benefits. I mean, you're preaching to the choir for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, like, you've had some incredible big name people on your show.
Yeah.
You just by association with those people, your brand gets authority through that as well. This is like how John Lee Dumas got famous with Entrepreneurs on Fire. Just he interviewed literally every entrepreneur almost in the world, it feels like, and he himself has become an authority through that. He didn't even know anything about business beforehand. So he's absorbing the content, which is great, becoming a business, he's learning, but he's also growing through association as well. So and it's much easier to ask somebody to become be a guest on a podcast. Now with video podcasts, it's obviously you have a beautiful studio here in Las Vegas, but even with an audio show. So that's how I was able to get access to Tim and Gary Vaynerchuk and those big names. It's like, hey, I'd love to promote your book that just came out, right? Come on the show. Easy. They're in their home or wherever and on the fly can just come on versus, okay, we got to be in the same location. And like, that's a lot harder to manage.
Yeah. So how do you get good guests?
So there's a few ways to get good guests on your show. Number one, catch them at a time where they're more likely to say yes. So if they have a book coming out or something that you can help promote, in those times for those people's lives, they're often more likely to say yes, just because they're on like a tour of sorts.
Right. That's how I got Tony Robbins.
Nice. Which book was it that he was like the money book or?
It literally just came out. The Holy Grail of investing.
So that was the ad that he came on to.
That was the ad. But what's funny is his team reached out to me. So that was cool. Like I got an email from them like, hey.
Actually, he reached out to me as well with his money book that came out a couple of years back. And I was like, no.
Because like, I'm good.
I knew it was going to be
more
than my audience can handle. Anyway, referrals, if you know somebody who knows somebody, always an easier way than asking somebody cold.
Yeah.
So if you know another podcaster, for example, check out their archive. Have they interviewed somebody that perhaps you'd love to interview as well?
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way.
Yeah,
in my
totally
opinion.
The easiest way. Yeah. Anything else is just going to be a lot of friction. And, see what you can do to be a part of their community first and offer some value before you ask for anything. And there are these companies that you could get involved with that can do some headhunting for you, that have a list of podcasts that, might potentially want to be on your show too. Or, collaboration's always good too, like a swap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually get now, but this is only because as my social media grows, but I'll randomly just DM people. I'll be like, yo, if you're ever in Vegas, I'd love to have you on the show. And I'll probably get at least 25% that I get a response back.
Yeah.
And like, I'm DMing big people and I'm like, whoa, okay, cool.
That's cool.
And they're just like, yeah, that sounds great.
The fortune's also in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like ask a couple times. Sometimes people don't take the first one seriously or even see it.
Yep.
But when they see that second one, it's like, oh, this person really wants me on. Okay, cool. And so the fortune is definitely in the follow-up.
Yeah. So do you think it's too late to start a podcast? What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely not. Definitely not. It feels saturated because it's now big and everybody's doing it and you got celebrities and other people who are creating it and there's, all these different new genres and it's kind of mainstream at this point. But when you look at the numbers, and I know a number of friends of ours have said the same thing, like Neil Patel, it's like, it's still wide open. I mean, there's 4 million podcasts that have been made. Compare that to probably 50 plus million YouTube channels and hundreds of millions of blogs. Right. So 4 million, but even out of the 4 million, I think the stat is like only 20% of them are actually continually, publishing at least once or twice a month. So, I mean, the game is wide open.
Once a month is not even
it's not even consistent enough. And when you think about it, even if it was saturated, no matter what it is, when you think of this question or when you have this idea of, am I too late? Is it saturated with good stuff? Is it saturated with like valuable content? The answer is always no.
Yeah.
The reason why it feels saturated is because there's so much crap. So if you come in with something good and something different, I mean, you're actually benefiting from the fact that there's a wave and it feels saturated because
easier to stand out.
Exactly. You could be the cream on the top.
Yeah. Because everybody wants to listen to podcasts. It's just finding the ones that you resonate with.
Yeah. I mean, I used to feel the same way about emails. I was like, who wants more emails? Right. And now every morning I read Morning Brew because it's like just gives me exactly what I want. So as long as you're creating the stuff that people want that is relevant to them or that matters to their transformation or their goals, then absolutely. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if it actually changed a person's life, it could be written on stone tablets. Somebody would drive to go and read that because it has the answers.
Right. So tell me a little bit about Superfans. What is it for those who haven't read it?
So Superfans was a book that I wrote because it's the how-to for an article that came out in, I think, 2003 or 4 by a man named Kevin Kelly, who was over at Wired magazine. And this article that he wrote was 1,000 True Fans. That's what it was called. And the premise of 1,000 True Fans is if you have just 1,000 people, just 1,000, who are fans of yours, who, if you're a musician, they drive 8 hours to watch your set, right? Or if you have a product, they won't even read the sales page. They'll just buy it, right? Super fans. If you just have 1,000 of them and they're paying you, for example, $100 a year, you already have a 6-figure business.
Yeah.
Right. And $100 a year for something that a person is a fan of. I mean, many people pay more for cable that they don't even watch anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. And super fans will pay loads.
Yeah.
So we're talking conservative here. And so instead of worrying about trying to create something that changes the entire world, worry about just trying to create something that changes somebody's world.
Right.
Because there will be 1,000 of those people. And that was amazing. This is about the long tail, right? And it's like, this is a great premise, but there's no how-to. And so I wrote the how-to book on that. And it involves a few steps because people aren't fans the moment they find you for the first time, right? They're fans from the moments that you create for them over time. So when a person finds you, you have to activate them. Why would they continue to follow you, right? So maybe it's your personality. Maybe you gave them a small, quick win. Like that one reminds me of Ramit Sethi, who I used to not like. He has a blog called I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Oh, he had a Netflix show recently, right?
He had a Netflix show recently, yeah. And I remember I didn't like his blog at all. He was a little aggressive for me. But he wrote an article one time. It was like, save 20% on your cable bill with this script in 15 minutes. And I was like, wow, that's a big promise. But I got 15 minutes. I called my cable company. I saved 25% on my cable bill. And I was like, dude, this guy's stuff works. I immediately changed my mind about him, like that moment. And I dug into his stuff. I've even paid for his programs because of that small, quick win. It's like level 1 in a video game. Yeah. You don't go hard on level 1. The developers make it easy so you can get that 1 star on Angry Birds. And then all of a sudden you forget to pick up your kids from school because you're on level like 400.
Well, I was telling you when you came in, because, we were both at Sean Cannell's event yesterday, and I was literally walking around at this party. I didn't even speak at the event. And I kid you not, I had 3 people who said, hey, dude, I just have to tell you, couch flipping bailed me out of a really tough spot years ago. Wealth Builders, you might have recently heard that we launched Wealthy University, which has access to all of our courses. You get weekly calls with me and our team. You also get access to special trainings, many of which have been done by people who are on this podcast, as well as recordings of WealthCon and other workshops and events that we've done. But even though that was good, I actually want to make it risk-free for you to try for yourself. I'm giving all of the podcast listeners a 14-day free trial by simply going to wealthyuniversity.com/podcast. So if you go check out that link, you'll be able to get access to your 14-day free trial right now. You'll be able to go check out the course. You'll be able to go check out calls, trainings, and everything else, and then see if it's a fit for you. There's literally no risk to doing it. So go to wealthyuniversity.com/podcast and go get your free 14-day trial of Wealthy University today. And I'm like, wow, I made that video like 4 years ago. It was like my first viral video on YouTube. And I thought nothing of it when I originally made it. I'm just like, I used to do this thing 10 years ago. Really helped me out. I bet you it'll help somebody. Just made it. It literally, there are couch flipping Facebook groups. I actually just got called to do a couch flipping convention.
There's a couch flipping convention.
Dude, I kid
couch
you not.
con.
There's going to be, I don't know what they're going to call it, but there's only one person who can be the keynote.
Dude.
So, like it was...
Take your seat.
Yeah, they were like, honestly, like we have to have Ryan. So just whatever it takes. And I was like, is this a serious thing that they're going to do? I'm like, where's the monetization? What are they going to do? Like, oh no, dude, they literally want to do exactly step by step how you did it. They're flipping couches. They want to then invest in real estate. They want to build their brand. I was like, dang, dude, to be like the godfather of an industry is kind of weird.
If you want to change somebody's life, start by changing their day first.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. And start small to go big, right?
Yeah, like flipping a couch is much easier than flipping a house.
Right, for sure. I love that. And so from there, you activate them, right? They're with you now. The other part of that is learning the language of your audience, right? This is like my wife. She's a huge Backstreet Boys fan, like huge, like almost a little worrisome for me because she likes Nick Carter, who's blonde and tall. I'm not either of those things. Anyway.
He lives in my neighborhood.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'll let him know.
My wife shouldn't know this. Anyway, she told me the story of how she got into this band for the first place. And this was back before radio or before Spotify or anything like that. And she had heard a song like many times before, but didn't care for it. But right after she broke up with her boyfriend when she was 15, the same song came on, but every word was like describing what she was going through in that moment. And that was her activation moment for that band. And then all of a sudden, like now she's married to a guy and keeping it secret that she has like bobbleheads of the boys in her closet. Yeah. Anyway, that's the thing.
That's life.
That's life and wife. But once they're a subscriber or a follower, right? That's not enough. They're not fans yet. We need to make them feel like they're a part of something, like they belong. Get them involved, right? When they're involved, they will be invested. And so we as just humans want to feel like we are with our people. And this is why, for me, community is everything now. Right? You speak the same language. You can nerd out on Pokemon together. You don't feel like you're being judged because you're with other people who also felt like they were being judged, and now you finally found each other. It's the same reason why, if you wear the same ball cap as somebody else, even though you don't know them, if your team hits the winning Grand Slam, I mean, you're hugging each other because you have the same beliefs or the thing that you're rooting for, and also the same thing that you're rooting against.
Yeah.
And so these are all kinds of things that can make people feel like they're a part of a community. And my favorite thing to do is put the spotlight on my community members, not me. Like if you remove the spotlight off of you and put it on your people, this is Donald Miller and Story Brand. That's his book. When you make your audience the hero of the journey, of the story, everybody else will want to go through that same journey, and they're going to go to the same guide, right? They're going to want Yoda, right? Because Yoda is the guide to help Luke Skywalker or Princess Leia do their thing.
Yeah.
And then from there, some people will just become super fans naturally, but you can sort of nudge people into that space by just surprising them.
Yeah.
Like moments of surprise, like out of nowhere, just a kind-hearted thing. And it doesn't have to be scalable. You don't need to scale these things. You just need 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when you get 1,000, it often exponentially grows to several thousand more after that, tens of thousands more, potentially millions, depending on what niche you're in, if there's big enough space for it. But that's what the book teaches you how to do. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, guys, let's slow down. There's a lot of noise out there. Let's go through this process together with your people, and it'll work. And I've proven it again with Pokemon.
Well, what's interesting too is, to your point, when you serve other people and you provide them value and you truly change their lives, they're going to stick with you through thick and thin.
Oh, yeah.
And, I can tell you as like somebody who has had, a lot of success and then also different failures and controversy and whatever, because of the goodwill and things over the years, it just has pushed through all the noise and it hasn't mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just like, I think about that a lot because obviously in life, nothing is going to always go perfect and you're going to always make 100% decisions. And it's like, yeah, when I watch way bigger guys than me go through different things, like a guy like, I don't know, Kanye West, like talk about a guy who's like always like this.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, it don't matter. People still
will
support him.
Yeezys.
They'll buy Yeezys, his music, his concerts, everything, even though, he'll be crazy for a period of time. And because of all the goodwill that has been built for all these years.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, your audience will go to at bat for you if you've helped them.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And they'll also tell you straight up when things aren't going the way they should, and they'll kind of redirect you.
Yeah.
Which I think is important.
100%. So what do you think is like the future of all of this, man? Because like I'm looking at the landscape of online and social media, and things are changing so rapidly now. And I see it everywhere with, dude, I got to like make new ads way quicker, people are being bombarded with more and more content. The landscape is more competitive. I don't know. I'm just kind of like interested to see where it all leads.
I'm just as interested. I mean, even just recently we saw the TikTok banning has been signed and it's likely going to happen or something. And it's just like the tech and all the stuff around this is always going to be changing. We don't know what's going to happen. And we all thought the Apple Vision Pro was going to do a thing. And like, I don't even know what's going on with that anymore. Like, who knows tech wise or platform wise, what's going to happen. But there's always one thing that has remained the same. And that is, it is about people. It is about the connections between those people. And the more authentic and perhaps vulnerable that you can be, the more likely you are to make a connection. And that connection will always be there no matter what. And it's just, we got to be kind of quick to find out how to better serve our audience, no matter what that might be. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm going to have a Neuralink thing in my brain and I'm able to help people by thinking about something. I have no idea.
Right.
But I think it's important to know what your values are and have the actions that you take and the decisions that you make support those values, and you will attract those people for what you believe in.
Yeah.
And the other part of this is I think it's going to be important to...
I'm sure you've heard by now that WealthCon is coming back to Las Vegas April 18th to the 20th here at the Caesars Palace. Now, here's the thing. Many people listening to this podcast have not been to WealthCon. maybe you haven't found the time, maybe the logistics didn't work out, and you have no idea how amazing it is. Well, I'm going to actually give you something completely for free so you can get a taste of what we've got going on. I'm going to give you the recordings of our last WealthCon back in January for the 2 full day experience. You're going to get access to all of the speakers and all of their presentations and everything else right now completely for free by going to wealthcon.org. Now, I don't know how long I keep this up on the website. It's a special thing that I'm trying out. I want to give people a ton of value, and I want to let you get a taste of what we're going to be doing in April. So go check it out, wealthcon.org. Go get the free recording, and maybe I'll see you at the next one.
In a way, draw a line in the sand with what you believe in and what those values are, and share that. And what that does is, and it's very scary because when you draw that line, there's now an opposite side to that.
Yes.
It now can create enemies or trolls or opposing positions.
Yeah.
But it also makes the side that you're on much stronger and clearer. And what I find with a lot of my students online is they're just too afraid to have a strong opinion about anything. They want to please everybody.
Yeah.
But if you try to please everybody, you're going to please nobody.
Yep.
Right? So like you got to stand up for something or else you're not going to have anybody to stand with.
Yeah. And I've experienced that the last year, making my belief system far more known.
Yeah.
When it comes to faith, when it comes to political issues, when it comes to just all these different things going on. And yeah, it basically creates 2 really strong sides of the coin. More hate, but just way more dedicated fans and support.
Right. So when you think about it, it's like, what's better, that or
Lukewarm.
kind of getting lost?
Yeah.
Kind of being
like, what do you believe? You know, well, I kind of believe this and that.
Yeah. Or if you change your answer for everybody, then it's like, well, then you're just a liar, or you're just trying to be a people pleaser.
Yeah. What do you think about these guys, like social media guys who are try to still be politically correct and like not have an opinion on things? And
I mean, they don't have as strong of a fan base as they could.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe they feel good about that because they're avoiding the trolls and the hard conversations. But I mean, we grow in life through those hard conversations.
Yeah.
Right. My wife and I wouldn't be in such a strong place if it wasn't for the hard things that we went to and talked to. Imagine if we instead just avoided those hard conversations, we'd probably be, miserable on the inside, but on the outside, everybody would see this thing and it's just like, it wouldn't be real.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the biggest mistakes you've made along the way?
Chasing money, like having that be the reason why I do something. I now always let the earnings be a byproduct of the service.
Got it.
And there was a time in 2012, I had 2 friends of mine who launched software products, WordPress plugins. They didn't know each other, but it kind of happened around the same time. And they had smaller audiences than I did. And they both launched these and they each made 6 figures in a week from their launch.
You're like, dang, dude.
I was like, my audience is twice as big as both of yours combined. Like, we're going to make some G's here.
Yeah.
So I immediately find a developer. I have this idea that just was scrappily put together. A project that was supposed to take 6 weeks and $6,000 took 6 months and $16,000. And by the time it finally launched, we finally got through it. And there was a lot of miscommunication, mostly on me, because I didn't even know exactly what I wanted. And so a developer overseas, how in the world is somebody going to
just make me a product?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we finally got something, and I shared it with a couple friends of mine, and they were like, meh, I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I worked so hard on this and I went through so much. And they're just like, yeah, but I mean, what if it did this instead? What if it did this? What if it did this? This is exactly why I wrote my book, because I wasted so much time trying to keep things secret, not wanting.
You should have got the feedback from the beginning.
100%. And I was afraid, like many other people, which is like, oh, they're going to steal my idea.
These are your friends.
Yeah. Well, they're your friends. And even if they did steal the idea, I'm the one working on it who's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, go ahead, try to steal it. And that would also force me to see what unique value I could only put in to this versus somebody else who might copy this someday. Mm-hmm. So that was a big mistake for sure. I think a big mistake was I kind of got caught up in the speaking circuit a little bit. This was in the 2018 to 2020 realm. I'm actually really grateful for the pandemic having to slow me down a little bit because my kids are getting older. My son's 14, my daughter's 11.
Got it.
And back then, I mean, I was on the road a lot. 2 or 3 times a month. And, even though that's 3 talks during the month, there's still travel days and I'm tired and I need recovery and stuff. I'm not fully there with my kids. So I'm grateful that I was able to be forced to slow down to then realize, oh, I don't need to go and talk. And I have an online platform. I can share with more people there too, right? There was a little bit of an ego stroke being on stage all the time and seeing direct feedback in real time from an audience that I'd make laugh or cry or, perform in front of. And that, I was eventually doing it for the wrong reasons. And I was playing that card with my wife too. It's like, it's for business, even though I knew my friends were going to be there. I was going to have these meals paid for me and I was going to get paid for this thing. It's like, that wasn't worth it. So, you got again, like I said, we had those tough conversations and thankfully I was able to slow down.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been the anti-speaking, even though I run my own events, but like I very rarely speak at other events because I'm just like, so I think the opposite. I'm like, I can make a video and get tens of thousands of views, millions of views. I'm going to speak in front of 500 people. Like the math doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Just because like I've always just been very business minded. Like same thing, I got approached to do a TV show years ago and I'm like, nobody watches TV. I could just make YouTube videos and I'll get more reach.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense. So it's just kind of interesting.
That's true.
But, speaking, here's the thing about just thinking about where the world's going. I was, like events and people, and you talked about just being human. The best way humans can interact is like in person together.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's where a lot of people lack because throwing events is a massive skill. It takes a lot of money.
Oh, trust me.
All those things. And, we throw WealthCon 4 times a year, over 1,000 people each event, and cost millions of dollars to do. And so it's not easy by any means. There's not many people who do it. But I just personally know, like when I see people and the impact and like the community, I'm like, all right, that's a differentiator.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that.
100%.
And yeah, it's hard, but I think that becomes one of the things in the future that differentiates people.
I think so, especially if you have a brand. When you become the person who gets through the hard part of putting people in the same room, then, that elevates your brand. I'm doing that in the Pokemon space right now. I didn't have to create this event, but I knew because of what I taught in Superfans, like when you bring people together, your brand comes along with that. And there's just so much good value that you are spreading by just giving a safe space for those people to find each other. So last year we launched an event. I actually partnered with a company and we launched Card Party. And this was an event to bring together the creators and the fans. It's sort of like a VidCon, but for specifically the Pokemon creator space. So YouTubers. And it was a massive hit. 2,500 people came to Anaheim. I didn't have to pay the creators because they wanted to be there. And the fans were so excited to meet the creators. And the creators never get to see their friends who they're friends with online. So it was so much value to this community. And the other cool thing about this was, yes, there were like the A-lister YouTubers who were there in this space. But we also wanted to make sure that the lower level YouTubers, the ones with just a few thousand, if not 100 subscribers, they were on the website too. They were celebrated. And it's so funny because they promoted the event more than the big guys because, again, they never get recognized. There's one guy who just like was emotional because he showed it to his mom. He's like, Mom, I'm going to this event. Look, I'm on the website. And she was like, oh, so this Pokemon thing isn't a total waste of time for you. Right? And he was so thankful that he finally like got a little bit of recognition. And again, it's just human beings. They just want to be recognized for the hard work that they do. And then this year we're doing one in Orlando, Card Party Generation 2. And we're shooting for 5,000 people. Wow. And we're already 2x the ticket sales that we were last year at this point in time. And, more creators are coming and bigger sponsors are coming on board. And, it's exciting. And like you said, when you're there and you see people interact in person with each other, it's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Where's the Pokemon space going these days? Because I remember it was popping a couple of years ago.
Yeah, thanks to a few events, including like a Logan Paul thing, and the market shut up, and then all the scalpers and scammers came, and it's kind of died down a little bit, but the market's still pretty high. And it's like a lot of the people have left, but the same people who were there before are still there because they love it, and there's some new collectors too. And for people like our age, we grew up when Pokemon was what we would spend our allowance on.
Yep.
Now, at this age, we have a lot more allowance to spend, right? but we're also bringing our kids along too. And that's the cool thing. It's cross-generational. Unlike sports cards, Charizard's not going to get injured or anything.
He's not going to get old.
No. He just keeps getting better and the artwork keeps getting better.
Yeah.
So I think, it's the largest IP. It's the biggest media franchise in the world. Bigger than Marvel, bigger than LucasArts combined.
I did not know that.
It's huge. So it's
just because, I guess Asia, it's just so massive.
Asia, but then you got the anime, you got the plush toys, you got the games, you got the cards, it's just the whole thing. So it's here to stay, and it's cool.
Yeah,
that's why I was in Japan last year. It was for the World Championships. I was invited by Pokemon Go, which was cool.
The World Championships of like card playing,
video games, Pokemon Go. They have all the tournaments there.
All.
Yeah,
dang,
20,000 people.
That's crazy
in Yokohama.
I remember going to Toys R Us one time for like a card tournament.
I used to work there.
Oh, no, did you?
Yeah.
Is that where you got your love for Pokemon?
No, actually, I was a Magic the Gathering player.
Oh.
And so all the kids coming in with their Pokemon, I was like, you guys are weird. You guys are like, play an adult's game, even though I was 16. And now I'm like, oh man, I should have bought those cards and saved them because they were worth like millions.
Magic. I played Magic for a little bit, but I was a Pokemon and a Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh? Nice.
Yeah. I wonder how big Yu-Gi-Oh's IP is. I think it's still pretty big.
Tournaments are still happening. New sets are coming out still. Yeah.
What about Magic?
Magic is an interesting one because some of their partnerships and decisions from the top have not been the best. They partner with Amazon and there's like just some, it's I don't know, Rudy from Alpha Gaming I don't know much about that space, but it's going through some stuff. Yeah.
So where's your focus? Because you still have your podcast, but you have this Pokemon show and you're doing a lot for that.
Yeah. I have an invention. Yeah. I do a lot of things. I like to dabble.
Okay.
Pat of all trades, master of fun is what I like to say. No, but it's basically still with my SPI business. I have a team of 10 people there who help run the community, and we run these events and we teach on these courses, and we're creating new content. I'm writing a newsletter. 20% of my time is on the Pokemon thing.
Got it.
So it's like 80-20.
What's your invention?
So it's called a Switch Pod.
Okay.
It was launched on Kickstarter in 2019. My videographer and we went to a conference and everybody was using those bendy Gorilla Pods to hold out their vlogging cameras. And it was like, that's not what it was built for. And so we built a better solution. It's just a tripod. The legs fold in and you can hold it and they fold out really quickly. It just does one thing really well.
Yeah.
And we launched it on Kickstarter in February of 2019. And 4,400 people backed it. We made about $500,000 in 60 days from it. And it still sells today on Amazon. It's just a low energy business that just continues to sell more passive income. And, it's doing its thing. We added some accessories and stuff. Since you're in baseball, it's a funny story. Not actually totally funny, but I was out in the wild once in San Diego eating lunch and I saw a guy with the Switch Pod. He was filming.
Okay.
I was like, God, that's my product. After he's done, I'm going to say hi to him. So he finished up and I was like, hey, you use a Switch Pod. Like, thank you for using my product. He's like, oh, you invented this? This is cool. And I asked him what his name was. And he's like, oh, my name's Trevor Bauer. I'm the pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was in town to pitch that evening.
Yep.
And I was like, this is crazy. I took a bunch of pictures with him. He's actually a very prominent content creator on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you get the insights of
he makes a lot of content.
He's really good. And he always has a Switch Pod with him in pictures coming off the bus and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was really excited, got pictures, shared it all over social media. 2 weeks later,
he had his domestic stuff.
All that stuff went down.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah,
I should take these pictures off because I don't know what's going on. And recently we found out that was all premeditated, dude.
Yeah,
and
she freaking screwed him. It's crazy that he's not in the league.
That's what I'm saying.
What a shame. He's a year or two younger than me. So he was at UCLA when I was at Northridge. So we played each other. He was just always nasty. But
he's over in Japan now.
Yeah, he should be in the league. It's, but once again, going back to being politically correct, like the dude has been, exonerated.
You're right.
He's still one of the best pitchers in the world, still throwing 98, and nobody's going to, he said he'll play for the minimum too. He
just wants to play.
Yeah. And nobody will sign him. It's like,
it's really sad.
What kind of freaking backwards world is this where the girl literally went to prison now because she was lying?
No apology or nothing from the MLB.
Nothing. What a shame. He should. Oh, actually, I think he is suing the MLB still.
Is he?
He should sue that. I mean, dude, he's lost hundreds. He's going to lose hundreds of millions
Yeah.
because of some girl and false accusation. That's crazy. But that's cool that he uses the Switch pod.
Yeah.
We can use him again.
To go back to I'm going to bring back the pictures. No, all the best to him. And he was really kind and,
yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, dude, you've done a lot of things. And I think a lot of people would look at that and they'd be like, oh, everybody always tells me I need to like focus on one thing. Are you a believer in that? Or
I tried that.
Okay.
It's hard for a person like me. And especially if you're an entrepreneurial type, you'd like to try and solve new problems and do all these things. And there's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, which kind of went around the entrepreneurial sphere for a while. It was like the one thing. And it made so much sense. Like if the one thing had all your focus, it would be more successful.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do that. So I had to create a rule for myself. And I call it the 20% itch rule.
Okay.
Because I want to scratch that other itch. But 80% of my time is for what I have already said yes to, commitments, my team, the business. 20% of my time is for play. It's for experimentation. If I fail, that's okay. It's still contained. It's like a little petri dish where if things go out of control, I could at least throw it away. And for the 2017, 2019 era, that was the Switch pod. There was no reason for me to build a physical product. Like, I just wanted to play and experiment and learn.
See if you could do it.
See if I could do it. And of course, if you fail, you're still learning. So it's not all wasted. But then the 2020 era became the Pokemon experimentation era in that 20%. And this is blowing up. It's actually more profitable than anything I've ever done because it's so lean.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah. I'll say this because I've started 8 different 7-figure plus businesses. And so clearly I like to start stuff.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of successful things in my life, whether it was play sports, YouTube, business, flipping houses, investing. Like I've done a lot. And, people will come up to me and they'll be like, well, dude, Ryan, I mean, you currently still do a lot of things. So I want to be like you. And I'll be like, well, here's the thing. Pretty similar to what you just said. Each thing I was doing, I was like almost solely focused on that.
Yeah, one at a time.
Yeah. So it's like, dude, I flipped houses for 5 years before I finally was able to build it it could self-sustain and not need me and we could just crank on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Then I focused on social media and that's all I focused on. I wanted to understand how people made videos and how they built brand. And I did that for years. Then I focused on education and I'm like, all right, how do you throw events? How do you coach? How do you build community? Like that was all I was focused on. And so I still had the other things running in the background, but those things became like my 20% where it was like, I'm 80% over here figuring this out. Those things I'll like check on them, optimize them, but they're still good.
Yeah. Build, automate, move on, build, automate, move on.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And this is what I like to call lean learning. It's actually my next book that I'm working on right now.
Nice.
My first traditional one, actually. Yeah. Thank you. Only learning about the next thing that you're focused on. I've
said that before too. I can't emphasize that enough.
There's we feel like we need to absorb it all before taking action. You need the smallest sliver of info just to learn your first steps.
I've told this to many people. I'm like, look, the reason I learn really quick is because I literally block out everything else. I'm like, okay, I want to get good at golf. I'm only watching golf YouTube, golf podcast, like for this season of my life until I reach whatever goal I want to reach.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. So I got good at golf really fast.
I need to write you up in my book as a case study because this is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. We'll figure that out. And you mentioned time blocking, right? So important.
Yeah.
And people time block in the way that they, I'll put a block of time in my calendar to do this. And that's like level 1. But when you think about it, I like to think of it as time blocking because I'm literally blocking out everything else. Nothing matters but this thing. And I have to respect and honor that moment in my life or the thing that I'm focused on or at least that block of time in the calendar. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many things just trying to enter that space and we need to stay in focus. So I could see the focus. I feel that energy from you. It feels very similar to the way I approach things.
Yeah. Well, it's just because people are so unfocused and shiny object syndrome. Like, well, yeah, it would be nice to like start a personal brand and start a podcast. But
I call that? That's inspiration overload.
Okay.
Because there's so many good ideas out there.
And they're all good.
Right. But none of them are going to go anywhere if you want to do them all at the same time.
Yes.
So like you said, one at a time, you laid it out perfectly. It's a great case study for that.
Yeah. No, I can't agree more.
Lean learning.
When's that coming out?
Just submitted the manuscript to the publisher just now.
Oh,
like
nice.
literally last week.
So did you do a book deal on that one with the publisher?
Yeah.
Okay.
First traditional book deal. Good money, but it's different than self-publishing your book. Oh my gosh.
Just do whatever you want.
Nope.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Rory Vaden just about the landscape of books.
Yeah, he's helping me. He's going to help me with the launch eventually.
Yep. So he's speaking at my event next month, my Christian event, Kingdom Summit. So he's a buddy. And he's, I was just asking him about the landscape of things. And he's a proponent of hybrid.
Yeah. I mean, he has his own
Yeah.
situation going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in Nashville with him a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. And I've written 2 books and I self-publish them both, but I would guess the next one I'll do Rory's approach and do a hybrid.
Nice.
But originally I was like, oh, okay, I can go get a nice fat check, to go with the publisher. And then the more people I talk to, the more they're like, nah, bro, you're not gonna.
Well, everybody was asking me why, like, you have a platform. Why were you even thinking about this? It's because so many people ask me what's better. I cannot truly, honestly answer that question.
Until I try both.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I'm already learning a lot. No, but I mean, it's also a book that's one circle outside of just entrepreneurship. This is self-help and productivity.
Right.
And this publisher would help me reach a larger audience than I could with my current platform.
Who's the publisher?
Atria.
Okay.
Which is through Simon & Schuster.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been actually thinking about that a lot too. Because like this podcast, I started 3 years ago and, I put it in the entrepreneur space because I'm like, yeah, it's entrepreneur stuff. And the more I've been thinking about it recently, I'm like,
Kind of limited, right?
What?
Is that where you're going? It's kind of limited in terms of reach?
It's not even that anymore because I just don't, I bring on pastors, I bring on fitness guys. And then I bring on mindset guys. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably more like a personal development podcast or a productivity podcast at this point. Even though, obviously I bring in money guys and we talk about business and stuff too, but I'm like, I don't know. Would changing the niche matter at all for the rankings or any of that stuff?
Very little.
Okay.
Very little.
So it won't matter.
I think it's just about who talks about your podcast with who.
Right.
Really. And do they know how to talk about it? Do they know how to describe it? Right. So if it's confusing on the front end to you, then it's going to be hard for a person to share it in a way that gets those people to obviously want to listen to it.
Yeah. Well, the whole premise of the wealthy way is that wealth is not just money. It's about having, abundance in all areas of life.
Amen.
So, it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about making money, but I also want you to understand about faith and understand about your relationships and everything else.
Mm-hmm. They're all connected. So
yeah. Well, dude, it's been great having you on, man. I'm looking forward to the book as a guy.
Thank
who's
you.
An implementer of that philosophy.
I appreciate that.
And I'm glad to have another fellow halfy Filipino.
Papa.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Happy to have another guy in the corner. I'll get you some ube and I'll give you some of my favorites.
Yeah. And you don't have to talk to Nick Carter either.
Okay. I won't let him know.
Okay,
I won't let him know. So we'll keep your marriage good. And, but for anyone else, hey, go check out Pat's everything he's got going on. Check out his podcast. Check out the Switch Pod if you want a cool little gadget and support. And make sure you subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.